Hello, my friend. In this video, we're discussing company culture and the power of knowing the stories of team members in order to build a culture in which people truly care about each other. This is a clip from an interview we did with Chester Elton, the best-selling author of several books, including his latest book, Anxiety at Work. This is Business Leadership Today. I'm your host, Matt Tenney.
Yes, my father had such a huge influence on me. He's one of the happiest guys you'll ever meet. And the great thing about my dad is not only did you think he was amazing, when you hung around with him, you came away believing that you were amazing. He had that effect on people. And he would, I don't know that he actually ever said this. I feel like I quote my dad and he would be, Yogi Berra, where he'd say, Chess, I never said half the things I said. Because I attribute so many things to my dad. The idea is that the only people you really don't understand, in fact, the only people you really don't care for, are people whose stories you don't know. Once you know someone's story, I think everything changes. And this was really important as we took a deep dive on what causes anxiety in the workplace. With COVID in particular, anxiety levels skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not just at home, just in life.
Right.
And you and I were talking previously that, before COVID, about 1 in 5 employees said they suffered from some kind of anxiety disorder. It was 18%, which, is still pretty high. And during COVID, it jumped to 30%.
Wow.
And then in millennials, it jumped to 42%. So the idea that I'm anxious and what causes us to be anxious? Well, I don't think people care about me. I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about my performance. I'm worried about where we are, where we're going. How are we going to get there? How do I fit? It causes all kinds of erratic behavior, perfectionism. Everything I do has to be perfect. I can never, back to WD-40, I can never make a mistake. I have to be perfect in everything I do. Well, you can imagine anxiety levels go up. Well, this idea about knowing their story. Dory Clark, one of our favorite leadership gurus, she teaches at Duke University. She said, we've all known this. If you were in junior high, you get that when you're worried about what everybody thinks about you, it becomes paralyzing. Well, if I know what your story is, you can imagine feeling that way all the time. Maybe you're the only woman on the team. You're the only person on the team whose English is a second language. You may be the only Muslim on the team, and you've got to figure out 3 times a day a quiet place where you can go pray. Well, we've started to do these exercises with executive teams and even board members, where we say, tell us your story. How did you get here? What do you want to accomplish? And why? Think about that. How did you get here? Tell me your story. For me, it's really simple. Born in Edmonton, Alberta, to a ridiculously happy family. John Dalton Elton and Irene Tanner Elton were the 2 of the greatest parents ever in my life. And they taught me principles like assume positive intent, care about people, be kind, be of service. And then you go through your career. Here's where I worked. Here's how I got here. People often ask me, how did you and Adrian Gostick meet? You've written 14 books together. It's a great story, right? Once you know my story, that I'm Canadian, and yes, you can assume I'm a hockey fan, right? And go through, all of a sudden, everything about me is easy and fun and engaging. We've had stories, I will tell you, Matt, we've done this with leadership groups, and people have told their stories and broken down in tears. Because not everybody grew up with Dalton Irene Elton. They had tough lives. They ran away from home. They had addictions. They have overcome huge obstacles. I was with a group down in Philadelphia, 8 leaders, 4 told their stories and their dreams and why they were here, and very positive. The first story after lunch was, she said, that's not my story. My dad was mean. My mother was cruel, and I ran away from him. And the fact that she got to where she is, it was so interesting that the whole group was like, oh, so now I get it. When your guard is up and you're maybe a little cautious, I get why that is now.
Yeah, I imagine the respect for her went up
a whole nother level too, just knowing what she had to overcome to get where she is, right?
It was an amazing story. I mean, Matt, even telling you about it is emotional for me
Yeah,
because,
I could see.
and then we went around at the end and we said, what's one word to describe everybody on the team? You know what her word was?
Mm,
Courageous.
mm,
I mean, going from the difficult one on the team to being the courageous one on the team, you can imagine the dynamic completely changed. Why? Because they knew her story.
mm. Well, so I do want to segue from that and to tell your story, because I can totally understand the importance of, you know somebody's story, you know a little bit about them. It's really hard not to have some modicum of compassion for somebody if you understand what they've gone through. So how does that tie in? How does telling your story help build this culture where people are caring about each other?
Such a great question. The reason it's important for you as a leader to tell your story is because it makes it safe for everyone else to tell theirs.
Mm,
You know, vulnerable leaders are in such demand right now. It's so interesting in our, over 20 years of studying, culture and leadership and teams and so on. The red thread has always been gratitude. The best leaders, the best cultures, the best teams all had this spirit of gratitude. And what happens when a leader tells his or her story and becomes vulnerable, it creates not just psychological safety at work, which is a lot of research has been done on that at the Harvard School of Business. I think it raises the bar to emotional safety.
mm,
It makes I'm emotionally safe in this area. And it's so funny, like 2 or 3 years ago, Matt, if you'd asked me, what are the characteristics of great leaders? I'd say inspirational, visionary, motivational, engaging. You know what it is right now? There's only one characteristic in a great leader that matters right now, and
mm,
it's empathy.
mm.
If you are not, if you're not, if you're not a leader that understands empathy, your odds of attracting and keeping great people just go way down. And the way you display that first step to empathy is tell your story. Tell your story. How did you get here? What do you want to accomplish and why?
Yeah, just opening up the door for other people to feel safe to share. That's huge. Yeah, I think that's something that's definitely lacking in so many cultures, where people just say, "Oh, I can't share that because I might be perceived as weak, or I might be perceived as less than how people think of me now." And just having a leader who's willing to get up and say, "Hey, here's where I screwed up.
Sure.
Here's how I got here. There's some of the failures along the way." It just changes everything, right?
Yeah. And so many leaders want sort of this mystique.
Hmm.
I sort of arrived here.
Yeah, but people don't connect with that, right? I mean, it's like there's some allure to that if you're just, you want to read somebody's book, or you want to see an inspiring speech from them. But if you actually want to work with them, you're not going to connect with them as a human if you just see them as perfect, right? Because no one truly is.
Right. Right. Yeah. Perfectionism, it's the enemy of just getting stuff done.
Yeah.
You might get, and this idea that, and there is a lot of pressure, I think, especially, in the younger generations to have the perfect, Instagram life and Facebook life. And my TikTok is amazing. My life is amazing. Nobody's life is always amazing. Everybody has ups and downs. And in fact, I think you know who your real friends are, and who really does care about you. It's not in the good times, it's in the bad times. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Who's willing to really crawl down into that dark space with you and say, hey, I'm here. I may not understand exactly what you're going through. I've been through hard times too. And I'm here not to be your therapist or your father confessor. I'm here to listen.
Mm.
That's why that made the list, right? Is be a good listener. Be a good listener. People will tell you what's going on, and then you can be of service. Then you can really be of help.
We hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please hit that like button so this video can help other people too. We love getting feedback, so please leave a comment below letting us know what you found most helpful in this video. If you'd like to listen to the entire 30-minute interview, please visit businessleadershiptoday.com. The link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and opt in for notifications. Until next time, I wish you great success building a world-class organization that makes a positive impact in the lives of team members and in our world.